In this programming session, I'm going to follow up with FuzzBlog, which is blogging software made from scratch with SvelteKit. So if you're interested in what this project is, you can check out the first two videos in this series. I'm also trying something new, so if you have any feedback on if this green shirt that looks invisible is distracting or not, please let me know. You can use the comments or Discord. So FuzzBlog is blogging software that we're making from scratch. And the basic idea is that we have a library that any SvelteKit project should be able to use to generate both a simple structure in your file system for blog posts to manage as a developer. So this is not general purpose blogging software. This is really for developers who have a SvelteKit project. So you can see in our routes folder, we have the blog directory, and inside that we have one, and we have hello FuzzBlog, which is the first post. So this is just a way to get slugs with the file system conventions of SvelteKit. And then the index 1 is for blog post number 1. So the first thing I think I'll do today is go ahead and let us customize the footer of blog posts. So this was very much a very kind of quickly thrown together first go at the system, and those posts, those videos were actually long enough. So this was like a clear oversight. So we're just going to go ahead and make a new pull request. And I think what I'll do is kind of just put various improvements as this branch name, because I think we'll kind of wrap several things into one. I'll make sure I zoom in. Still new at this. So I'll go ahead and run our server for development, and I will open up in Firefox the FuzzBlog GitHub repo. So if we go over to FuzzBlog, we should see there's no open pull requests. And what we'll do here is just kind of go ahead and get started. And then we'll create the pull request, and then we'll start making notes on that pull request as part of the normal process. So if you are interested in looking at the actual code, the description will have that link to the pull request. All right, so the idea here, if we look here, this blog post component actually has a hard-coded footer that has my information in it. So clearly not something we want to force on users. And in fact, this information, this whole idea of a blog post footer is kind of suspect to me. I wonder if we should just kind of simplify this. The header does make sense to me. So if we look at what the header content has, that has the date and it has the title. In the footer, though, we currently actually have no reason currently to have sort of like a standardized way. Although now that I'm thinking ahead a little bit, another thing we're going to add in this is Mastodon comments in sort of a standardized way. But I'm guessing that will not be in the footer. That will actually be in a section below the footer. So I think what we'll do is, for now, we're actually just going to defer the idea of having a footer over to the user completely. So we're going to unpublish this component is what I'm saying. So I'm actually going to just move this blog post footer component over to our blog directory and make sure we're updating all of our, let's see if our editor was smart enough to reroute us to the new directory. And it looks like so. So if we have like blog post footer imports, we can see it only being imported in one place, and now the new route is correct. So we'll go ahead and keep that here for now, and maybe say, add a to-do, should we publish a blog post footer? That's question mark. Can we think of a useful thing to do with it? What's useful to do in it? So basically, we're taking this hard-coded footer that I previously had just kind of baked into this blog post component, and instead, below the article, so the question is, like, I guess the footer, does the footer belong in the article? This is one of those questions where I don't know enough about semantic HTML. I'm going to go ahead and, since I already have the header inside the article, we'll also put the footer inside the article. If that's, I'll just leave a note too, to do is this is having the header /footer Actually, that's something I could Google really fast. Let's do that. So let's, yeah, I'll just say, is header, do header and footer belong in article? Semantic HTML. For example, yeah, let's see. Where does the main content title belong? Let's just hop over to this. Yeah, so like they're putting sections with headers, a body with the header. Article does not have the header. So we have this hierarchy. Yeah, it's this interesting question. The header and let's see, article element. So article represents a complete self-contained document. Let's see, do they have examples? They actually do have the header and footer inside of the article. So we'll keep them there. That's glad we checked. That's the actual W3, actually that's the what WG, the working group that publishes the spec, or the, yeah. So yeah, we'll go ahead and keep our footers inside here, but instead of having this blog post footer, I think what we'll do is, yeah, I don't need this to do anymore. I did answer the question. I'll just do this. I'll say like if there's a footer, we will render. So this is going to be a Svelte snippet. We'll render the footer. And actually, Copilot is not interpreting what I'm meaning. So we'll have this footer snippet that's optional and pass it through. And so now if you provide a footer, it will actually put it inside the article. And we can always sort of have a fallback with this blog post footer in the future if we decide that's a thing we want. But for now, we are not going to have footers unless the user actually does it themselves. So now back to our post. To keep the same exact previous behavior, we'll put in that footer. We'll put in the blog post footer. Oops. And it has no parameters. And we import it just from our routes now. So if we look at our post, actually it does require what props, it actually does take the post as an item, but actually doesn't use it. So I'm going to go ahead and remove it. I actually had a to-do for that, and because we weren't actually using it. So now it's all cleaned up. Our ESLint is still having bugs after the upgrade, so sometimes I'll have to refresh to make that yellow warning go away because it wasn't actually a warning. Sometimes when I move files around, it looks like the ESLint watcher is not catching that. Whether that's a VS Code bug, it seems likely. The VS Code extension for ESLint may be buggy since upgrading to version 8. So I now have that footer being passed through and to our blog post. And so when I have this blog post here, we should go ahead and be able to run our thing, go over to our blog, go into our first post, and we still see this. And we see now our footer, I'm going to make sure I zoom in, is still inside the article here. So this is now restructured. We can just double check that we're actually working. I'll just put an exclamation mark there. Yep, sure enough, it's working. So I'm going to go ahead and commit this code, and we're going to say a change set. We're going to add a change set. So we're going to say grow change set. This is a minor change. So I'll say -- minor, and then say the parameter for it is going to be unpublish blog post footer.svelte. Actually, I'll just put that unpublished blog post footer. So what this, whoops, I need to put the -- minor at the end. So it's not, I haven't changed that to where we use nodes built-in parameters, which I think it's going to be smart enough to know parameter order based on types. So that's something that can be a small improvement later. But for now, I just had to put the title first. So this now is going to be pushed up to GitHub, and we can now open that pull request. And so this is going to be the one pull request I work off for the remainder of this this session of coding. So we're going to say various tweaks, various improvements. So first of all, we say unpublish the blog. Keep doing blof post footer. And then to do, I'll go ahead and write out what we're going to do today. So this is going to be the first thing we did. We're also going to say automatic Mastodon comments will be a feature. We can do, we're going to add padding padding on main layout. I think I saw that in the last video. We're going to say grow post and then title, which is going to be a new feature we're going to add to when we create new posts. We'll give it a title, which should have been there all along, but it's just a nice little feature we can add that will prevent some manual work. We can also do grow update post, and then like 1. So I think that's going to be all we can do. We might want to do init blog post pages with blog post already sort of in there. It's totally optional, and this is something I'll get to later, or maybe not today. But this is sort of one of those things where the question is, how much do we do for convenience versus how much do we do to show users that you actually don't need this at all? You actually have full control if you want. There's no need to have to mount. If we go look at our blog post again, the one that I author is right here. This blog post component is actually fully optional. There's no reason you have to have it. But when you create the new fresh template, it doesn't include it because it was like, oh, I was communicating, it's totally optional. But for the features that we'll be adding, it seems like kind of worthwhile to go ahead and do that. So we'll see. I'm not sure right now. But yeah, and actually, I realized for the comments, I'll have to come up with this later. We'll probably, if we get to the comments part of this video, what I'll do is add the Mastodon post that then will be linked from here. So I'm just looking here and I see like no comments. Basically, I'll add like a comments with URL is something and type would be Mastodon. So this will come back to later today, hopefully, but if we don't get to it, we'll do it the next video. So automated comments. All right. So again, if this whole invisible shirt thing is distracting, let me know. I have no idea how it's going to, if it's going to be distracting or actually helpful, because now I take up less space on screen, but you can still see me react to things as they're on screen with the face, which a lot of people say that they enjoy. So going to keep doing that for now. I can always shrink my head if that's too big too. So, all right. So basically we have a little placeholder here for later. First, though, we're going to come back to, let's say, automatic Mastodon comments. Okay, so actually that's what I did have next. Let's do the easy one, padding on the main layout. So this is just something that I noticed. If we go here, we actually do have padding here. I think we have padding here as well until we shrink down super small. And then I'm actually noticing here there's a bug with the breadcrumb not having a, it looks like something's broken inside here. We're on fuzz blog. My SVG is not being rendered correctly. So the size, that we're not giving it a size, it looks like. So let's go ahead and try to fix that. So we have breadcrumbs somewhere, and those breadcrumbs are on the about page. And here you can see I have the fuzz logo, and we don't give it a size. And because it has no container inside of it that's given a size either, this is like one of those quirks that there's probably a better way to do this, but I'm actually just going to copy this over, and I think this will just work now. And this is not a directive. This is actually going to be size equals. That's just a prop called size on the actual logos. So now if we come back here, we can see that extra large logo now. That's the size I just gave it. Basically, the container around it is a span, so it can be inline. That means if we look inside here, or actually it looks like it's a link, which is display flex, but it has it doesn't size its contents automatically. So if it were a block, I think it would, but let me just see that really fast. If I remove this size parameter right here, the size, width, and height. So actually that doesn't do it either. So basically this, yeah, it's because the anchor link here has no minimum width. You can see it's this height, actually it's 0. So if we say like height is like 16 pix, and then let's say we give it, I thought this was height auto and max width 100%. Maybe I actually need, I say width 100%. What's the, yeah, and then it overflows. So We don't want to go there. It's fine for now. That's something that I might fix more as like a styling issue that's in more of a pattern in lower level libraries like fuzz, so this is fuzz blog. Fuzz provides the breadcrumb component, and that breadcrumb doesn't automatically size its icon, which that's intentional. We don't want to max out. We don't want the breadcrumb to be opinionated on that stuff. But the question is is there a better way to do this than having to give a size to every logo? Because otherwise they just don't appear, and that feels kind of bad to just have your icons there, but it actually doesn't render anything because it's just rendering as 0 height and 0 width, or one or the other, or both. So here's actually what I was talking about with that padding. If we look here, this is our main page. If we look at our about page, actually I don't have an about page, but probably should add that link. We can add that link to the about page. We have the same problem here as well. And so we'll just make sure, let's go ahead and add that link to the about page. We'll just add it at the footer for now. This footer is very much a placeholder on the main page here. I don't have a proper footer here, but that's something that I probably will follow up with. So I'll just put source code as both of these will be chips. So class equals chip, and that will give it a nice little styling. Our link here is actually going to be to base and then /about and call that about. We'll put the about link first. And then now base was already imported, so we're good there. So now we have these two little things. We'll add it in a div so that they're just laid out like blocks. And actually they're not, because they are inline by default because they're links. Is that right? Should these be? Should links, are these actually linked? They're actually inline. I wonder if I should, yeah, something I had done previously was make all links blocks by default. And then actually that might have been the problem with here as well. These links, although they're flexed by default, I did change it to block. So the idea here is should these links, one thing I can do for the footer is I could just undo that wrapper I just added, add the box class, and that just creates a centered vertical block flexbox of elements. And you can see these now are laid out. We can just say margin bottom large. This is very much a placeholder. We'll improve this later. I usually add, I can just go ahead and go and show you because might as well. We can add the GitHub logo. Just like the fuzz logo that we saw earlier, the GitHub logo is added from fuzz. So fuzz logo, we can also have the GitHub logo, and that'll just add in our nice little logo there. We'll center that, so class box as well there. It's now centered. We want a little bit of padding probably on top and bottom. The sides look pretty okay. So we'll add padding Y of small. See how that looks. That looks a lot better. So the side padding, let's see. Yeah, we already actually had left and right padding, or sorry, we had top and bottom padding, but it was really small because links being inline. So that's just one of those things, the chip, because they are designed to be inline, just had a really small padding X and Y. So we'll actually lower that slightly on the bottom. So I like how it looks on the top. It's about roughly from here to there and there to there. It's about the same. By the way, I might need to make my mouse bigger just in general. That might be something that I look into in the next video. Don't need to worry about it now. And then the padding bottom is a little bit much. So what we'll do instead of padding Y small, we'll add padding top small and then padding bottom, let's go extra small too. So that's a lot more centered. We now have this nice sort of single clickable element. No matter where we click inside this panel, I'll refresh it. The styling was bugged from Vite. No matter where I mouse inside this panel, you see it's clickable. So all of this is a hit area for that link. About doesn't need an icon. We can just kind of click about, and that takes us there. And yeah, so that's good. So we have now a much better footer on our main page. That same footer is used here, as you can see. It also has, actually it's a different footer. If we look there, it's not actually the same footer. Our about page actually had a different footer. I believe that's using a built-in So maybe I kind of was doing a little bit unnecessary work. If we use, yeah, we actually have what's called the library footer. And there what we're doing is we have our package JSON metadata included here. So one thing I think I'll do, we actually have this fuzz.dev root URL, so you can go to there. I'm just kind of looking at this and wondering, do I like this way of doing things? And yeah, I think this is kind of more of a standardized way I've been doing stuff. So we'll go ahead and use the same exact code over on our main page. It will increase the root layout. What am I saying? The cost of loading the initial data on the root page will be a little bit higher now, but not that much higher. The package JSON and the source JSON are pretty small. That means we can also have access to other things to do with this data. So I'm going to go ahead and use that about page. This library footer now can be used instead of what we were just doing. So this GitHub logo, this whole thing, we can just replace that with this library footer. We actually don't need this as well. The library footer itself, I believe what we can do is have I think we can just pass children to it, but we'll see that in a sec. So I'm in my layout here and my about, where am I? I'm on my main page, whoops. So actually our layout is not where we wanted to do this. We actually wanted to do this on the root page. We don't want that everywhere, we just want it on our root page. So gonna import these same things that we do on our about page. We will then copy over from, as we do on the about page, to use this library footer. And that looks like that. Our library footer then is a footer, so we no longer need this wrapper. We actually probably just call this a section, is my guess, is like the right way to go about this. And we'll import the library footer just like we did from fuzz. That's where that comes from. The idea of library is like any sort of library. This is a library. This is a fuzz library. I have a lot of libraries in fuzz. Fuzz blog is one of those. And so calling it a library footer is a standardized way. It's like, okay, we have this way of an interface to that package's metadata, and then now we can sort of render that generically. And in the future, we can add more features and that kind of thing to make that nicer. So if we now refresh the page, we'll see something that looks very similar to what we just had. I probably want to add the breadcrumb above this as well. And I think that what the library footer can do. So it can take children, and we'll see where that actually renders in just a moment. So if we go, I'm going to close some of these blogs. We don't need those open right now. So if we look now at our root page, we see that same sort of thing. We have the about page right here. You can click that, it takes you to about. Here, there's no link above because that was hard coded. And then, so if you go back and forth here, you can see the footer is exactly the same between the two. And you don't need to, I don't feel like I need to put source code. If you're a developer and you're already here, you probably know what that GitHub logo means. So you can just kind of click that. The title for that also says source code on GitHub. So that's both accessibility as also, if you just mouse over, you get that title to tell you what that link actually does. It also, you can see what the link actually points to. Fuzz.dev is sort of a way to say, hey, this is a URL that represents this project. If we click over to fuzz.dev, we'll actually see fuzz code and others linked here. So we can just click back. That's over to the web, or that's not fuzz code, fuzz blog. This is the actual on the web blog, but same thing. You can see this is the old version of it. I'll make sure, again, I zoom in. So that's what our footer looks like now. If I click over to about, you can see the footer is good. We probably want to add in the same way we have in the top here. We have the breadcrumb we see. So we'll go ahead and add that breadcrumb right here to the library footer on the about page. So same way we just did that, we'll just add those children. It's going to need a style. So actually, this probably can just go in here. And so we can say dash size. We can use the svelte wrapper around the breadcrumb. So we'll add that div for us with that size property. So if we see now, if we go to the about page, we should see it the same size. If we remove this, we should see it shrink down, which it does. Do we need it actually big? I don't know if I actually care about it being big anymore. I think I kind of like it. There's enough going on the about page that I think I don't need it large. Let me just zoom out. Yeah, I think I like it better small. So what I'll do, we also added the breadcrumb at the bottom here, you can see. And so to change that, what we need to do, we will add that wrapper around that and say the class for it will be like margin bottom large. Actually, let's go XL2. I don't know. We'll see. So the idea is like I wanted to space this breadcrumb away from the actual footer just a little bit. Not sure how much that should be spaced. I'll make sure I zoom in. Just trying to see what it looked like when it was small. You can see there the spacing is different here because we added a different one here. So we said large over here, and then over here we set XL3. Let's actually go big. Let's go, I think 3, or even center it. So that would be 5. So now it's more centered between the footer and the content above, which is basically the same spacing as a section. And so we'll do that same spacing here on the page here. So this becomes margin bottom XL5. We can go over to the batch. Actually, I changed that, so that's not the same. So we'll shrink that down. You can see the spacing actually here is actually bigger than that. So this section, I had forgot I updated it to XL7. That's actually going to be too much for us. So we'll go down to 3 in both places and see how that looks. So now about, and then our footer, and then our link to fuzz, we can click it. Same thing. That's about okay. That's enough spacing. We can always come back to it if once other things kind of get added to the page. About being at the bottom of the page here is questionable. I'm curious about how, I'm kind of experimenting on different websites. So you'll see slight variations across all of the fuzz websites and other of my websites right now. You'll see some similarities, especially because I'll use components like this footer, this library footer. But basically there's small variations. I'm not really sure, like where does that about link actually belong? Like, I don't know, maybe here, maybe not. We'll figure it out eventually. So more I like just kind of when I don't know something, I'll kind of throw up multiple examples of that and eventually usually kind of converge on something I like better. So the point that I was on, the task that I was on was to fix this padding around our main content. You can see that these panels actually go totally flush with the sides of the page once we shrink down to a certain size. We want to make some white space between the sides of these panels so they're not just kind of bleeding into the sides of the page. And like how docs runs right up against the side of the page, that's not what we want. Same with the page here. Yeah, so the simple thing here is we'll just kind of look at the page, ask ourselves on this main panel, super easy to do. I think what we'll do is just add padding around just the sides of it. I think the bottom and top can be responsible for themselves right now. You see how this section kind of spaces off. The top, I don't want to kind of mess with this spacing right now. It looks fine. I could probably go in here and remove that padding. So maybe that is what we'll do. Although then I'll have to probably adjust it back. So what we'll do, what I'm saying is like the main block on both the about page and our root page here. See how we have, oh, actually this main block has no max width, right? We're saying that is interesting. So it's a flex box aligned vertically, and that is probably what we want to keep. And it actually has block. So this was actually unnecessary. All of this was unnecessary, and actually we'll just remove this completely. And so it's not going to be centered anymore, I believe, if we go out here. Actually, I'm wrong. So let's see. The main box is still, yeah, it doesn't need to be centered. And I guess, so it's filling up the full width of the body. And I think, or were we on about? No, we were here. Okay. So same here. Don't need this main styling. It's already going to be, we'll just give it a box there. Just a utility class that's nice. There's no reason to. So yeah, we can see here, and I guess it's because of content inside. So what we'll actually add is margin X, MX auto. And so that will space us back to the middle here. We'll also add that to our routes or root page. And I think that's because other content's making it flow that way, but I don't want to risk things changing and then it breaking. So I'll just add that margin X auto now to it as well. So now we can see what MX auto does is margin left and right, very similar to Tailwind. So we now have our layout looking a little bit better, we will add now padding around the main, the entire main. So the padding is going to be padding, let's say large, just to see. And that looks pretty good to me. I think large padding, we can shrink down as well. This is the normal size. What does that look like? Yeah, maybe you maybe want actually sometimes larger than that. Like at larger screen sizes. Actually, what am I saying? Because actually it's only going to be that on small screen sizes, because otherwise it will be full width. So I'll zoom back in so you can see. But yeah, I think margin or a padding of large is fine. I might decide that's not quite enough, but I also don't want to take up too much horizontal space. So padding of large ends up, yeah, basically being 13 pixels, right, at this font size. It's responsive. The large and stuff is uses rems internally, I believe. So yeah, we can see, yeah, space large is 1.3 rems. So 13 pixels at the current base 16 pixel font size. So if you increase font size in your browser, that will actually change responsively to whatever user agent font size you're using. So that seems to be fine. I'll add the same padding over to our about page, and also on our main page. Maybe that's what it was. That was probably the problem here. We'll go ahead and add the width medium max. So yeah, this section probably doesn't need to have width medium on it. I think that was probably our issue there. And so that's, or maybe I do. So let me add it to the outer main. So we do actually. So something about how it's because it's because my boxes are, we actually have a box for the route or the main, which is like kind of can screw up with layout inside of it. It's the question of, do you make the sections centered or the outer main element centered? I chose to go with outer main element, but that means that they changes all the sections to flex boxes, which means you actually have to add the width 100% on those sections if you want them to overflow properly. So I'll go ahead and add back width 100 to the section, and that's just something that it's questionable. Let's go ahead and undo that. So I'm going to change that to a box, and I think I'll be able to remove this one as well. We'll see in that in just a sec. I'll remove the outer box here, and which means, so actually we already had boxes on most of those. So let's just see this card as well. We'll add a box. So now our main no longer has centered child elements. So if we look now, the sections take up full width by default because they're just blocks now. And the question is, can we remove now the width 100 on this thing? So if we remove this class width 100, I'll make sure I zoom in. So actually that does, you see how that breaks the overflow. So now because this pre doesn't have width 100% on it. So that's one of those questions, like let me see, like width 100%, and then remove this outer, if I say display contents actually on the outer div, let's see what happens. Yeah, so there's this question of maybe my code, if it's not inline, should have 100% width on it. That way you get overflow behavior by default. You see I have max width 100%, but if I had changed that to, oh, actually that was the problem. I think, wait, was that a problem? Let me see here, because I undid that width 100%. So let's try this. I'm going to remove this wrapper around, our code. Remove the wrapper around the code. So now we just have a block level code element. Refresh the page. Actually works. Okay. So it was the fact that it wasn't display contents. It was turning that into a list item because of its outer box. And the width 100, max width 100% here actually solved our problem for us. So we already had that problem kind of solved. But the problem is by adding a div wrapper, which is one of those things, like adding div wrappers can actually change the behavior of your code, because now you have maybe a list item if your parent of that is a flex item, or sorry, a flex item if the parent of that was flex, a flex box. The specifics of these words can be a little, I don't say them very often out loud, so trying to get them right for your sake as the viewer. So our flex box on the outer side creates flex items on the inside of it. Because we had that extra flex item that had no width, like max width 100% set on it, it was then breaking the max width on the pre inside of that. So adding wrappers can also often solve problems. It can also cause problems. So that's where, like with, for example, using the SvelteKit custom property shorthand, where you just say component, you have dash dash some custom property name, give it a value. That actually adds a wrapper div with display contents. And that can cause certain issues, like with, it wouldn't cause issues in this case because display contents does not make the flex item behavior happen, but it does cause things like first child, last child, that kind of thing. Sibling selectors that will then possibly break. Okay, so I think I am happy with our layouts. We'll just double check that everything looks correct. Basically now we have padding around stuff. So if we shrink our page down, we see that it's padding everywhere. You can see at the top of the page, things changed a little bit. Sorry for zooming. Zoom gets all kind of wacky because it's different between the page and the console here, or the developer tools. So I'll make sure I try to just remember to zoom in always. And I'm also zooming here to just double check that my padding looks correct at different dimensions. And so we'll zoom in. This page looks good. I think the one thing I'm looking at is the top padding here where our logo is. We can see it's a little bit more than it was before. So this space XL2, this padding that at the top, I want to shrink that down so it's more roughly in line with that. So we're still waiting on SvelteKit, Svelte version 5's dev tools to be upgraded. So, and like the inspector to be able to jump quickly from elements on screen to elements in our editor. That's a super great time saver that I am unable to use because I'm already on Svelte 5 and they're not quite caught up yet with the tools there. But we will, and there's internals that need to happen before that can happen. So we're not quite as streamlined in terms of process as we can be, but we'll get there over time. So I'm just going to shrink this padding top down to say medium. And so now you see it moved up this spider a little bit, or the fuzzball, whatever it is, a little bit. Let's go down just a tad more. So this distance here is roughly this distance here. It just looks a little bit more balanced to me. All right, so I think we are very close on this side of things. We can go to the About page. We did this to both of the pages. Here, I want to look to see. I don't think we did have a box on it. We're going to remove that outer box and see about how things look width-wise. So this is not centered here, but I don't think it needs to be. You can see this panel it creates is not actually centering its content. It actually has the section panel directly on it. We can always add a box if we need around it outside. That maybe is inadvisable to have this be a section, but that's how I did it. So this is a component called Community Links panel, which I import from Fuzz. Just all of my stuff I kind of am putting in Fuzz. Totally optional components. You don't need to use them. But basically, like, this is something I can use across all the Fuzz projects to link everything together. So we get like, okay, here's all the Fuzz projects that sort of seem like most important. And then from Fuzz, you can kind of link out to other packages inside of Fuzz. All right, so this is looking good to me. We just accomplished that goal of getting our styling better. So I'm just going to push all that code up. I think that looks fine for now. Styling stuff like this is often just I'll kind of do little bits at a time when I see it, and sometimes it's a rabbit hole. Sometimes you might spend who knows how long editing styles, and then a lot of the time those style changes might go upstream, so they can be reused across all my projects over in Moss or Fuzz. So that just kind of is how things go. Okay, so the next thing we'll do is automatic Mastodon comments. This is something that I'm actually quite excited to have in terms of being able to have Mastodon comments be very automated and smooth. So I did not actually on Fuzz blog create a Mastodon post for it yet because I had not done any integrations getting Mastodon in here. So one thing we'll look at first, and I'm asking myself, maybe is this something better to do as a standalone video so that Mastodon stays more self-contained. I could also prepare the post to Mastodon better this way, so you don't have to see me write a social media post on camera, because I'm not going to be editing these videos unless I really have to. So we'll go ahead and come back to that, I think, in a separate video. That's a nice kind of self-contained, like adding automatic Mastodon comments to my Fuzz blog, blogging SvelteKit toolkit. Don't know how to talk about this yet, but that's the gist. So we'll come back to that. So we'll come a little bit more of essential features in this. We now have a customizable blog post footer, right? We're no longer forced to like have my content in there, which was always a mistake. We now will add as well, add footer snippet prop to blog post will be the, so we'll say like change update blog post footer. So we'll unpublish the blog post footer and then add the footer snippet. So kind of keeping this in the same little change set so that it's easier to read and kind of follow along what's happening, because these are kind of linked together. So I'm going to commit that and back to the next task. So we fixed a little styling. We added the footer customization. One of the next things that I realized was a big oversight was when you create a post. So when you go to this blog post, so it's post.task. So this is when you say, oh, I forgot, I need to move this over. Sorry about that. When you say grow post, you can say -- help. You can see there's one parameter. It doesn't actually show, yeah, it's optional, but this needs to, I'm gonna make a note and grow, basically like show when properties are optional. Show when properties are optional. So right now it's not super, I thought that was, let's see, like grow dev -- help. Which I thought, yeah, they're not actually, it's not actually super clear what's required and what's not. So when we say grow post -- help, these are actually, date is totally optional. You can see here, it's actually optional. It's going to default to the current date when we run the task. We're going to add a new property. It's going to be called underscore. So I think the idea is you should just be able to like write grow post and then quotes some thing. Actually, look, CodePilot kind of knew where we were going. It just got something slightly wrong. So it's going to be like this, z.array of strings, right? And then the description, dot array string, and the description of this is going to be, the description is title, post title. So the idea is like shorthand will be, yeah, it says like consider underscore args like new and 0 to bump. We're actually going to create separate texts for all of those. So things like new, this is new. Maybe we should rename this to grow, new post. I don't know. I just say grow post. That seems fine. That's not conflicting with anything else I can think of right now. So this is going to be required. And so instead of optional, we're actually going to say like, I think min length. Yeah, min is 1. So now we're going to go ahead and just like return out of here early. The underscore here will be like that. We often like will default it to, let's see, I'm going to just log out what that is. So we'll log out the underscore. The first parameter of that's going to be our title. But we'll do something first. So we're saying min 1. Is it min length is, yeah, that's what min means on arrays. So if we don't add a title, so let's actually just run grow post and then just nothing. It actually says, hey, this is required. This underscore, that's a terrible validation error. I could kind of go deep into Zod to show maybe that's a good idea. So min, actually, let's do that. So I think min, and then the message would be post title is required. Great job, Copilot. So if I say grow now, post titles, it's not actually showing that. Oh, so it's not because it's not required. So can you say required? No, that's not a thing. So let's see. Oh, I think maybe this whole thing is going to be array. I think it's inside here. We pass the message. Is this correct? Let's try. Yeah, post title is required. So that's not the best error message, but it definitely shows you basically what's going on. This is something that I should fix at a lower level because it's just kind of printing out the raw error right now from Zod. Enough of your information is there for me to understand this, but it's not the best user-friendly error because this right here is actually just like the rest, or like the non-named arguments to your, like I could do dash dash title and this would be just like way clearer, but yeah, maybe we just change it to title, like to be super explicit, easier to read. It makes errors less likely. It's like it means you have to like do dash dash title, which is like maybe annoying. It's not an array anymore. Doesn't have a minimum. It is required. And so let's just see what this looks like instead now. So actually this is like that and like this, I believe. Let's see. So actually, I might even need post title is required. So you can see the title now. If we say grow post dash dash help, we can see title is a string, defaults to undefined, and it's going to be required. So yeah, you can see a little bit of UX stuff is not perfect here with grow, but the behavior is fine. It's the error messages, how the error messages are structured that could use improvements. So we're actually going to remove this and just, I think, if we now run grow post, it'll say like title is required. So again, this is a sort of error I could improve in the future. So I will just kind of put this into, again, my notes on grow, improve errors. This off screen, apologize for that. But just improving these errors for like grow post. So this basically says required. I can basically have this be generic. I don't need to add a special error message here. It's generic enough to be like, hey, title is required. It's not, that's the error. This is just a poor formatting. I think Zod has some built-in formatters for this that I'm just not using. I think I was at one point and then it was failing for certain things, so I just went to the generic version. So anyway, title is required. So we'll have to say grow post dash dash title and then like foo. And then what that will show us is here is our title. It was logging out the underscore, which is no longer there. We now have the title. So if I do that again, we'll see our title is foo. So this is going to be the title that we use to create our post. And so to do a local link example, this is just some content that's not there yet. Basically this title right here. And then we're going to want to have the slug as well. So do I have a slugify util is one question. I'm going to search across all my projects. I'm going to open up in VS Code. I think I do have one, but this is one of those utils that like actually can be kind of opinionated and weird. I'm going to open up, let's see, projects here. So this is all, I think 17 now of my projects. One of them is not released. Z's has a placeholder project right now, so we're not there yet. I might actually have the Slugify. Is it called Slugify? I do actually have it Slugify. So this is actually already used inside of Fuzz. I'm just not exporting it. So I even said to do extract to helper. So one question is, do we want to extract this helper to say belt? I think so. let's just do our work kind of like we might expect. I'm going to open up belt now as a separate thing so we can kind of isolate our problem. I'll open up fuzz as well so we can see what using this in 2 different places is going to look like. So this is like often how it works for me when I've got a lot of things going on. I'm going to open up, I think it belongs in path. So basically I had this path module. We can now say export const slugify, to do, improve question mark, improve how. It returns a string, so now since we're exporting it, we have to define a type for my own normalization of modules with TypeScript. So I always use declarations on exported functions and other types if it can't be trivially inferred, especially for return values of functions specifically. That's what I'm saying. I don't no longer need that to do. We also will want to add some tests to this. It looks like, do I not have any tests to this? I thought for sure path.test would have tests. I might have like moved them. Yeah, I guess I don't have them anymore. That's an oversight. These should have tests. So I'm definitely going to write some tests just for this. It's super simple to do. So I'll open that file. So touch source lib path.test.ts. We'll import test from uvu, which is what I use as my test runner. We'll say test. It's going to be, yeah, I need to like leave it to do. I thought I could have, yeah, I thought I had done these to do, test, etc. We won't do that today. It's fine. It's all working. I just would much rather have good tests for that. So slugify is going to just take in, so we're going to say assert.is slugify, say like, yeah, hello world, it's going to be that. Sure, that's fine. It's a fine test. We're going to import assert from uvu assert, and the slugify function can import from paths right here, do our absolute import. So star as assert, we're going to say, okay, hello world. We'll do, sure. We also will add like space around stuff. So A, B, C, and then add space at the beginning and end. And this should now be A, B, C, like that. So let's do A, comma, B, and A, B. So this is like punctuation. This is white space. You can see ESLint still like not having a nice time because I just created a new file. We'll say grow test path.test, see this work. We actually aren't running the test at the end, so that's how that works. You don't have to do that with like the node built in. So you can see that like I do not actually have this working like I want, because it's replacing all spaces with a dash hyphen, and it's replacing all non-word characters with, yeah, so it's replacing spaces with a dash, but we actually don't want, so it's lowercasing it first. So let's just start from the so A, B will be AB. A space B will become A dash B, right? And then we can say like A lowercase, yeah, and then we won't have to worry about capitals after that really. So we'll run that test again and see which one's failing. So if we click into it, we can see this one's actually failing. And the question is why, right? So expected values, obviously I just had like a very quick and dirty slugify function. This is one of those things where like often people will just look for a library to import, but belt is my utility library. This is like such a simple function that I don't need to handle a ton of corner cases. I don't need some large library. I don't need to import. Most people would kind of reach for Lodash or some others for this. I don't, I think like I'm okay with like kind of dumb slugs. I think it's like keep it simple. Any non-word characters, which is what this should be doing, should just remove those. So it'll just keep normal identifiers that work in JavaScript and remove spaces. But like one problem here is like we don't want like multiple spaces for all those dashes. We just want the a single dash, not ever multiple. But that's actually not the problem we have. So like here, I would expect this to fail as well. Like if we do this, this is probably going to fail with like a bunch of extra dashes, is my guess. So yeah, like added dashes at the beginning. And it's not actually doing it in the middle, which is interesting. So it added like dashes up front. And so it's definitely in the way I'm just like writing this. And so it's going replace all with like a search value. And I wonder, do I even need the global? Because I'm using replace all. Yeah, no, you do need the global. Okay, that's interesting. So I'm lowercasing it, and then so our first test passes, and then this is like one of those where I might just open up an AI because this is so unimportant to me. And if I ever see a problem with it generating slugs, we'll fix it. It's not a big deal. So the Stack Overflow answer might be best. I don't need to struggle on this for very long. I might just kind of go to Stack Overflow. But the question is like, why is this, right, not working here? And so I would expect this like replace all. So we can actually open up our so this /\s is to replace white space. So if we go to our console, we say like this, dot replace all, like that. It replaced that one white space character, which is what that /s is, with a dash. So if we have two, right, we get 2. And if we have 3, we have 3. So it's already kind of confusing me. One thing is like this \word. So I might have actually done this in the wrong order. That might be the primary problem. And then space, because spaces are also not, like if we do this, we say like dot match, and then pass in a regex that's like \word, or I guess that's non-word. That is, whoops, should probably do, yeah. So like that matched it, right? So we could actually, I could do this like dash exec, is it, or test dot test on a, so that actually matched white space too, but it's actually also things like dash. So we probably just wanted to do the non-word characters. Oh wait, no, space needs to change first. Yeah, right? Of course it does, right? Spaces needs to be replaced first with a dash. Oh, but dash is also non-word. So that's, what is the right way to do this then? So it's almost like this was already kind of like messed up because it's not, we don't want multiple dashes anyway. So one thing I think I'll just do this like kind of inefficiently. I'm going to say const parts equals string dot two lowercase. Maybe that should be a locale lowercase. I don't know. I think it's probably fine because we're going to replace the non-word characters anyway. So we're going to lowercase, and then we'll say split on the global space, and then we'll say dot filter boolean. So then at the end we'll say return parts dot join by a dash. So we no longer have to replace that. We can also replace, we'll actually map, let's see, so this, we want to, like, we filtered out all our things. We now want to dot map all, did it do it correctly? It did. Good job, Copilot. So I think the idea is like, it's not the most efficient, right? But like both efficiency and features, right? But the point is, we are lowercasing our string, we're splitting it on spaces, we're then filtering out all empty ones, so that will remove all spaces get removed at that point. Because, oh, actually, wait. Yeah, so we're splitting on spaces. That means that's right. So there'll be empty strings. If you like do like a, this A, B, C dot split on white space, right? You get empty string, and then, so to see how that works, if I add like more spaces in here, you'll get some empty strings in there. We're filtering out those with the filter boolean. And then we're saying map all of them, where we replace any non-word characters with nothing. And then we will actually, we'll have to filter boolean once again. So I could do that once, because this is going to be match non-words, right? So if we do this test again with an empty string, it's false. So yeah, this is actually, we'll just move the filter Boolean to the end. And that will remove anything, like if it removed all characters from a particular slug, we'll just remove them. And actually, let's go locale lowercase, locale lowercase. I think that'll give you slightly better conversions of lettering over to, rather than just removing them. I believe that, you know, special, like the ñ in Spanish, ñ. What is the ñ? So like, let's just, this is actually something I don't often work with, locale stuff. So I'm just like doing it for my own curiosity. I'm sorry for my face. Yeah, this is where my invisible shirt is helping us out. It's not blocking me here. I do need to probably just start getting in the habit of moving my console over here though, so you can see it better, and also making it bigger. Sorry if it's been too small. So we're gonna say to lowercase, and this is actually gonna keep it the same. That's what I expected. And we say to locale lowercase. It kept it the same. So yeah, we will do lowercase to get more predictability. We don't care about the locale then, for the purposes of Slugify, is my guess, because that's more like, it needs to be like kind of standardized no matter what the locale is. I thought there's probably a better way to do this, but don't really worry about it. I'm not worrying about it right now. So that, yeah, like actually, hold on. Let me just, is it a non-word character though? Because like, yeah, so like, remember I had the test. So this test, the ñ is true. So it's actually just going to strip out ñs. Let's just look at Stack Overflow. Stack Overflow. This is where like I would probably, like if I don't see like a very quick solution for this, yeah, like these articles in jQuery, people asking how to do it in jQuery. Yeah, like remove accents. So like this thing right here would remove from and to, right? Extended language characters. That's a well upvoted. Yeah, so this like is the dumb thing that I'm doing, right? The top answer on Stack Overflow is basically what I'm doing. It's just, you know, replacing stuff. For me, yeah, it's saying that, sorry if I'm too large. Gotta adjust my eyes to the giant text. So yeah, this is essentially what I'm doing with a little bit more fanciness in the regexes. Like I don't need to worry about that. I'm just gonna copy paste it because it's fine. So like here's like where, oh, like if you have like a special extended, you know, character set, it will replace all of these. Like I would just say, because that's the title. I suppose to be more international, that would be good. So yeah, and these aren't necessarily correct. This is where like you would probably go with the, yeah, people are saying, it's missing these and that, because every language or tons of languages have these. It looks like he did a pretty good job. Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. I'll take this, just lift this code from Stack Overflow. Why not? So our Slugify function is now going to have these replaced in it. So we will do this. The parts though, we will, yeah, see how like I'm splitting, like they're just saying like replace in the string itself. And so, and it's using replace without mapping and stuff. So that's probably like more efficient. Like this is probably the function that I should just use. It's trimming here, but you know, notice that like, I guess my question is like, does this actually handle what I expect? So, and it's like, it's creating this pretty gnarly regular expression to go from like this character to the other one, which like is fine. It's definitely inefficient. You know, generating slugs being inefficient is probably fine. Yeah, I think it's fine. So I'm just trying to think. Do I want to just like literally copy paste this function from Stack Overflow with this tried and true method that some people use? I tend to like try to write stuff myself, especially if I can see, yeah, like this is like using kind of complex regexes that I'm not going to use. I do like the idea though of we will use like the whole string. So we'll say const s equals s dot to lowercase. And then this will be, instead of string, we'll split it like that. This is string dot to lowercase. We could trim it, but that's going to be handled later. So we'll just do this. And we will document where we got this from taken special characters taken from, and then from Stack Overflow. Actually, here, this link. I want to link specifically to this comment. So share is that, yeah, this specific comment. I have like JavaScript disabled, so that's why it's like acting weird. Actually, I'll just say see this. Okay, so gonna change these to constant, and then so we now have these characters, and they map. Looks like we're lined up correctly to, and then so like my non-word character matcher, probably not needed. Like over here, like I don't care about matching to dashes, so I'm gonna actually remove all of those because those are not word characters. Actually, the underscore is, but I will preserve underscores. I definitely want to preserve underscores if people give me an underscore, because that's a fine, that it just works, and it probably was intentional. And if not, then like don't include underscores when you call your post title. But this will preserve underscores in your post titles. So we're just replacing. That is funny. That is, wait, it's the same character. That's weird. That just looks like an error. Yeah. I mean, it's the same one, right? Like if I open up a console, it's the exact same A. Sometimes they look exactly the same, but they're different. In this case, they literally put an ASCII A in there. Yeah, so remove that, remove that. Oh, wait. Yeah, no, that's right. Maybe it was like this, whatever. They just made a mistake, it looks like. So I don't see any others that are obviously the same here at first glance. And it doesn't matter if they are. It's just slightly inefficient. So now basically what we want to do is loop through the string, and we're just going to kind of reassign. I don't think there's like a better way to do that than just like creating the regex and replacing like it's doing. So like this, the Stack Overflow post basically had the right code. You just want to like kind of loop through from and create the new regex. So I will copy paste that because why not? Going to change it slightly. So S is going to be replaced. We always add the U flag just because. Oh, whoops! What am I saying? Const is it's let. And then this is going to be let. And the idea is that we're looping through the characters of this from. This can be hoisted, so we definitely do not need that there. I was thinking of like renaming this slug, like special characters from special characters to. Yeah, let's just call it special cars from special characters to. Is it to special characters from special characters? Just trying to think. That's fine. It's not the best name, but special characters from special characters to. We're saying S is going to be replace. We could actually just pre-compile these regex, but then that work would run by default. We could optimize this out slightly. So be like, yeah, I actually am going to do that because I just really don't like the idea of it just creating regexes like this on the fly. It's not that big of a deal, but yeah, this would just be like a little bit more optimized. So we would say like const get special char mappers, and then we would say let special char mappers. Let's do special characters. Oops, just singular. Get special char mappers. We would say that's going to be return. This is going to just be a list of regexes. This is like a small optimization, but like it makes me happy, basically. This is like how I would, optimally write this code, right? I'm trying not to, like, I'm already kind of deep in the rabbit hole. We're talking about slugifying something, and then we're going to upload it to 2 different projects and use it there, and write tests and all this stuff. We're kind of deep in that rabbit hole already. Might as well like make it right. It's regex. So the idea here is that we have this special little function we're going to call, and then we're going to say for const mapper of special, actually we'll say special char mapper of there. And so we'll call this like lazy getter. This way it's not on startup creating all this stuff. And then this now will be, we can say like regex. Actually, instead of mappers, we'll say regex. So instead of this, right, it's going to be, so for each one of those characters, actually, let's do this. We had this code. We'll copy paste that into here. We'll still change it a little bit, but I'm just kind of doing this the easy way. We'll say if there's mappers, right? If this exists, I was going to do like a one-liner, but this is fine. This is like more efficient to not do the one-liner. We will basically then, this will return a list of regex. We'll just declare that. So if this exists, we'll do this. Otherwise, we say special char mappers is this, and then inside of here, instead of this, we'll say like special char mappers.push this new regular expression. And that's going to be, oh, I'm totally getting this wrong. It would have to be a function that gets called on a string, right? So we can say instead of regex, it would be functions of string to string. So it'd be like array of string or s string to string. So this now, it's going to be this return value. And so it's actually going to be this. And so it is mapper. That's why I kind of called it mapper at first. Mapper of S. So of all of our special character mappers, so our code becomes super simple here, right? We're saying first we lowercase it, then for every one of our special character mappers, we're just going to map the string over. That's going to be here. So this is going to be a function that takes in the S, and we're going to say special char mappers. And I could probably do not push. I could probably do this slightly better, but this is fine. And then now we return. We could probably do like a one-liner here, but don't need to be clever. So basically, like it's a lazy getter, and we can actually move all this stuff below our slugify. The idea is like when we call slugify, this is better. Yeah, I probably still want to improve this efficiency. Our string gets lowercased, and then we say, here's all of our mappers, right? And then we map our string for each one of those. There's a lot of them. Like this function gets called a lot, and that's why I didn't want to just kind of like create a regex every single time. It's still not great, but like we could basically say like if, instead of replace, it could be, it'd be like test. And if, well, I don't know, maybe not. The idea is that like for every one of our special characters, yeah, I and j. So for every one of our special characters from, we are, and we'll actually test a bunch of these. We can actually just test that string exactly in our tests. So sort.is, we'll say slugify to this string, and it should just return our other string here. Okay. All right, almost there. So we're about ready to retest these. So slugifying that is going to be equal to this. And we can say like A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C. Okay. So we now have like this lazily constructed set of functions in this array. I could totally just map these, like, yeah, I'm not going to worry about it though. We're just kind of constructing the array ourselves lazily. It assigns the new array, and if it was already there, we just return it. It constructs it once. So I'll just say like lazily constructs special char mappers which each converts, yeah, to their ASCII equivalents. Great. Okay, so this looks right. Let me just double check the logic here because I didn't write the code. So we're saying, yeah, I is 0 to j is the length of that. I is less than j. That's right. I plus plus. We're pushing in the character at I gets replaced with the character for the 2. So from at I to I. J is just special characters, that length. That's fine. It's an optimization some people like to do. I think browser engines are good at caching that stuff, but whatever. It's probably a good practice for me to start doing this form. I've seen it elsewhere among people who seem to know what they're talking about. Just a small little thing, and once you get used to reading it and writing it a certain way, it's not an over optimization. It's those things. Once you get the pattern, you just do the pattern, because you have to have some pattern. Might as well be consistent and faster for those kind of things. So we should just run our test now, and we are failing at our mapper. It looks like it's really close, but that AE thing. So actually, the actual is like lowercase. So that's an interesting thing. So I kind of mistakenly put in this. So I think I'm just gonna have to retype these. I think I can just like copy paste these, but like I can't say for certain. Actually, they look about the same. Let's just see. Let's just see if it's the same. Basically, like remember, slugs get lowercased is the point. We're super close. That R becomes an O, which is interesting. Was that a mistake in their code or mine? So this BD, BA, these definitely get lowercase, BA. O, does that become AE, you think? I don't know. It's fine. No, it's just 1. Just turn into 1. Some of this doesn't matter. I say doesn't matter. It likely does not matter. So you can see here we have a mismatch starting with the right before the R's. And why is that? It's because like we have 2 R's and this O, and then 2 S's and a T. So did they mess up? Like, who's messed up here? You can see this O becomes O. Did I mess this up? Or is it, there's just no equivalent of the uppercase. So we got 2 R's. So how many O's do we have? We have 7 O's. Here we got 7 O's. So there might just be more uppercase O's is the thing. There's 6 O's here. Yeah. So that means I just need to delete one of those from my test because I just copied over the lowercase versions. So let's see how that looks now. We now have the Z problem. So is there no just equivalent Z for lowercase? It looks like not. So I don't see a Z over there. Wait, I do. Wait, Y, YYZ, YYZ, YYZ. What's going on? I think, did I mess that up? I might have just copied that wrong. Let's see. It looks, yeah, it looks right to me other than that. So we now have B, it actually returned uppercase B here. So what is that an actual B? Let me just double check. That's a real B. Close U equals B. Yeah, that's a real B. So why did it not lowercase our B is the question. Did I just need to fix my, yeah, I just like typed these in incorrectly. So BD, BA, there. Wait, did I do that right? Because it's going to be lowercase anyway, right? And we lowercased first. So am I just doing this slightly wrong? Like, should all of these be lowercased? Instead of, no, because we probably want to keep these, yeah. Here, let's do this. I think I want to keep these. This mapping should keep your casing, but yeah, and why is like this D? Let's like move this special D over with other special Ds here. There, okay. Same with here. I need to, unfortunately, this is kind of detailed and error prone. A lot of these probably do not need to be handled, but I'm doing it anyway. So yeah, like turning AE to A is probably not correct. These being B's as well. I think let's go ahead and change that. So AB, that's that one. So this is a lowercase b apparently in some language. Let's do that back here as well. Technically don't need this, but doing it. We also moved the D's. So this actually doesn't, this order of this string doesn't actually matter. I'm just kind of doing it so we can make these more readable. I think this is the uppercase B right here of some language. So we'll move that as well, just so it's consistently more readable. Let's move our lowercase d as well. So you get moved. And then this uppercase B gets moved. Let's move it after because that's where it was. All right, we're getting close. And then this AE thing, you know, that's not a one-to-one mapping. If AE is what it should actually be, but we're not going to talk about where that character is being used or referenced in my recent memory. No need. So yeah, we can just leave those there actually. I will run the test, see what's broken. We're really close. You can see this B is missing, just looks like that needs to be lowercased. So something about how the mapping, we are lowercasing first and our browser is not lowercasing that correctly. So we'll just do string, string, and then we'll say dot to lowercase here, to lowercase. So something about the browser doesn't know that that's like a lowercase, and we don't need to worry about it. If Stack Overflow had it, it can't hurt, I don't think, to map it. Because otherwise, if these don't get mapped, they just get deleted by this regex right here. You know, delete all, or yeah, remove all non-word characters. Collapse white space here. Collapse white space. And then just like remove all of these. And then we just join at the end. So this is like better in some ways in terms of readability. Not necessarily the most efficient at all, but now our test pass. So like, yeah, I'm pretty satisfied at this point with how this looks. We made sure we remove white space, we remove special characters, Maybe we handled basically a ton of things in other languages. We will preserve underscores. Let's make sure we do that. A underscore B gets translated exactly the same. And so if we do like A space B, what happens? Let's just see. Yeah, it's gonna like make a dash. That's right. So we'll do this. Make that and then dash. Whoops, space. Dash. And actually, what happens if we do this? If we do like a space before, it should actually handle that too. So we'll do this just to show like this is actually the behavior. Underscores are just preserved and treated like regular characters. Okay. Okay. So what we have is like a bunch of good test conditions, right? I kind of want to just jump over here while I'm looking at this because it's like, hey, look, here's parts, and I actually had this API described in its examples what it's doing. So I kind of want to just do that while I'm here, like write a few tests, and I can remove, or don't need to remove the examples, but don't need that if it's not adding any information. I think I could add some, I don't want to do thorough tests. So yeah, these would have to be thorough tests. We just kind of like added our Slugify function. It looks pretty good. I'm going to add and make stash really fast and make sure we're on the latest. Get stash apply. So we now have a new function, Slugify, and this is in the belt project. So if we sync our, and we're going to add a change set. So we now have, what this package does is it adds this as an export, so we can now see it on our website. And it will add more metadata in the future. In this VODs channel, I will add, improve. Basically, if we go look at what Belt has, we can go to belt.my website, see on the About page, these are all the exports. So eventually this will be like better, like it does currently like link. So if we click on like path.js, it links to that module. And you can see our code is not pushed up yet. But what I'll do right now is, so we have this, this metadata pointing from here over. This will add like a lot of documentation and stuff. So this will be sort of like the way we get documentation automatically generated. Kind of like Storybook, but way simpler and more flexible and more modular and that kind of thing. And also like bespoke. Like I like to kind of do this stuff myself because I'm not beholden to like delivering software in a particular format on a particular schedule. I'm just trying to do things in the way that makes sense to me that will kind of grow and organically sort of improve over time across all my projects. So this is just how things look right now. This will definitely change in the future, but like this kind of metadata, I find this to be tremendously useful. It's also super lightweight. It's as lightweight as I can make it, and you can kind of opt in towards full source if you want. Eventually, you might want the full source code on the websites. That's not actually currently happening, but it could. You could opt into it, for example. You can actually opt into it now, but it doesn't really do anything with that yet. All right, so basically we have tests. We look good. We can just like run our check. Grow check. Pretty sure we're good everywhere. All we did was add a function, some tests for it. So we now have a Slugify function. Is that the best name? Who knows? It's fine. It works for me. I'll add a change set, and that's going to be add Slugify to $lib/paths, or actually I'll just say to paths.ts, and I could say $lib. Yeah. No, it's kind of implied. I still don't know the format of how I want to describe stuff, but to paths.ts, and hit OK. So what that's going to do is automate our change set. It's going to then push up that commit because of some automations that it could kind of be like, oh, it's safe to commit this with this same message. So now we have in our Git log, we have that same thing. And then in our change set, we have that same thing. So it's just a little automation I have when it can see it can safely do that. And now what we'll do is call grow release. And what this will do was it will do all the NPM version using change sets. So bump our version after it runs all the tests and builds. It will bump our version, push that code up to NPM. It'll also push that code up to our website. And so we can now see over here, if I refresh this page on GitHub, we now see our new Slugify function right here. And that's the only export we added. So these are all these are all local. So in a moment, then if actually we can go here, I'm not on, yeah, I am on Firefox. Okay, so on Firefox, if we go over to the Whoa, I'm like too zoomed in or something. Something's weird. Okay, it just broke the layout for some reason. That happens on GitHub more and more, or less and less. I don't know. It happens. GitHub's going through changes under the hood. So basically, I'm looking at the deploy branch. It's committed now. It's still pending. But in a moment, what we'll have is I can close the belt project now. I can now go back to fuzz over here. And here, I'm going to actually install the latest belt. And hopefully npm cache is all good. It is. So you can see it changed one package. We should now be able to look at our slugify function and import it from belt. And so that comes from import. Actually, let's see if it's smart enough. Is it? It is. Good job. All right. So we have our slugify function imported into fuzz. So now we can just say like here, we can say gross sync. So it's a little bit more robust. You can see this function actually was called on whenever we construct the library links. So we actually kind of do want that to be relatively fast because it's being called at runtime. So good to know that it's probably good that we optimized with, because like the vast majority of the time, like internally here, I'm never gonna have tome names with like special characters. So that's like wasted work. And there's like a bunch of those special characters, and that would be like construct a regex every single time. We still call a function every single time for every single one of those characters. We have that mapper that takes the, any characters and we still run that regex over that entire string. So like, is it fast? Absolutely not. For the purposes of this, it's fine. But it's something that like we might show up in a profile one day. Don't know. So if that, we'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. Definitely that function can be optimized, but I think the slowest part of it will be running that mapper for every single function. And we did kind of like our best at optimizing that. There might be faster ways to do that than using the regex. Maybe even like replace all with single characters is faster. I have no idea. Those are micro benchmarks I'm not gonna worry about today. So we updated belt. We actually, I have a new grow as well. So these are just dev dependencies over on fuzz. They might change the behavior slightly, but not for anything that's actually going to change anything. So I'm going to just update our dev dependencies here. So we see like these two changed. And now I'm just going to say like grow sync and then like probably deploy. I'll run check just to be thorough. And then what we can go back to, this is where we started. Remember, we were like, hey, we need to like slugify things with our title. We have a title, but we need to slugify it, right? Because we wanted to go from this title to this slug. So we're actually just going to pull this out and say slug. We'll say JSON.string. Actually, we'll just wrap it in strings. Actually, no. Yeah, because it's going to remove our slug. I should have done that. Did I do a test with like quotes? Let's just go back to, we can always add a test. It's fine. Yeah, I did not add a test with quotes. So let's do A's B. And that should just be like, actually, what is that going to be? Ideally, it would just remove that completely. Let's just run the test. And I'm sorry I need to zoom in. So let's say run grow test path. Yeah, it failed. Yeah, no, that's what I wanted. Okay, cool. So we wanted it to remove the quote, which it already does. So the behavior is correct. We're just going to say add a slugify test. Okay, so we're back. We're done. There, we can actually, I wanted to show you on Belt, the website. If I refresh the page, go to About, didn't need to refresh. But if we go to the path down here, we now see like slugify is added automatically, right? So in the future, you'll be able to like get documentation. Like it wouldn't take much to get the TypeScript types, for example, on all of these modifiers so that we could present that to the user, say in a pop-up or a dialogue or something like that. Present that sort of documentation inside every one of the websites that shows what identifiers is exporting. So for the future, that we'll come back to that. All right, so we are still kind of working through. This is going to be follow-up. So I'm just, the Mastodon comments are going to be follow-up. So I'm going to go down here and say follow-up will be automatic Mastodon comments. We fixed the padding on the main layout, so we're good there. We will probably do the 3 of these in this video. I'm kind of like running longer than I thought, but we took a tangent to add a new function that we can now use everywhere, and it's tested. maybe we'll come up with new test cases we need. Maybe we'll make it more efficient in the future. But this means we don't have to reach for a new library, add a new dependency to our chain, open ourselves up to even more fun supply chain future attacks possibilities. Just keeps belt can just have the utilities that you need for JavaScript that I need. If I'm missing stuff, I'll add it, is generally how I go. And so you got to see the process of me like using Stack Overflow. The final code basically had like I think the for loop was basically the same, maybe some slight differences, but everything else kind of changed. I found some errors it looked like in the actual strings that it was giving me. I think that's what we were seeing. Maybe it's possible that I like added an A that wasn't supposed to be there, but I don't think I did. No, pretty sure that did not happen. So anyway, what we'll do is create the slug from the title. So we have our title here. We can say slug equals slugify title. And like, there's a question here of like, whoops, did not mean to do that. Slugify, actually, maybe Node has a slug function. I don't know. But we're using this in the browser as well. So our slugify function, we need to install the latest belts, and we want to install the latest grow, because I also had an upgrade there. And so we change those two packages, and then we will import slugify. VS Code's super smart. It already got it because it saw the changes probably in node modules, changed our import availability. And so we now have a slugify function being called so that when we are starting here, this title now, we just need to insert U. And this is another one of those things, like we probably need to escape titles with single quotes here. So we will run a test. Let's just do this. So let's see things working a little bit. To do block test with quotes in the title. So remember, titles are passed through as just regular strings, but we don't want this, like, we can insert the title like this, but like we're probably gonna have to replace all single quotes. We definitely will. I just want to show you what happens when it doesn't work. And then the slug will be what is on the file system directory, and also that maps directly one-to-one because of SvelteKit over to our URL slug. And so we're going to go ahead and demonstrate this in just a moment, where I create a new post using post, and then it'll say -- title. One thing that we could do is like, yeah, no, I'm not going to worry about it actually. So we're going to have to escape that string. And like this always like confuses me, like escaping stuff. Like I think you can JSON stringify it as well to escape it automatically. So that might be what we do instead of wrapping it in like single quotes like this, because our prettier formatter is actually going to just like turn it into whatever escape sequence we need, but we can't break the JavaScript syntax. So I think what we'll do is JSON stringify this, but let's go ahead and see what happens. I'm going to commit this code. So because we actually don't want to create a new post, we just want to test it. So I'm going to say grow post -- title, and then we'll say, whoops, I just mistyped that. Grow post -- title foo. And then what that will do is create a new directory called foo. And this is the feature we just added, right? So we have title as a supported flag for post. And that's actually required. So if we omit it, right? If we omit title, it's going to say, hey, that's a problem. Title's required. And again, we'll improve that error message in the future. So then if we look over here, you can see title now is filled in with foo, and slug is now filled in with foo. So we're going to reset. We're going to say get reset. Actually, is it get clean -f? Yeah, and no, that didn't work. Get reset hard. It's like, how do you get clean? There's like a way to defaults. Oh. Let's just do like -f. Okay, why did it not clean? Get clean. Maybe it's like -r. No. Get clean -- help. Let's see. I'm like recursively removing files that are not in version control. Only files unknown to Git are removed. Git clean will not recurse into untracked directories. Okay. So we want to do -d to have it recurse into directories as well. Okay, so we want to say like git, let's see, try this. Git clean source -d -f. There we go. Cool. I'll try to remember that. What does that actually mean though? What is the -d? Like, -d. It doesn't actually, what is, oh, directory, I guess. Yeah, untracked directories. Okay. Yeah, such directories. So untracked directories. Okay. So glitch, and I made sure just to scope it to source. I'm pretty sure that worked like I wanted it to, but you know, nothing else has changed in version control. And we still have our node modules. Yep. Cool, because it's get ignored. Okay. So we now are clean again, and we can say grow post -- title, and then give it like foo's bar, right? And this is going to cause a problem. And you can see it right here. So it actually failed to run prettier. It said error generating. It created this file. It failed to do blog.gen, and it's because it couldn't format it. Now it did output this, which is like, should it be? Like, probably not, but like that's just, let's see, unformatted, and then we format it here. Like, why did this, I would expect this to fail, right? And then when we run gen, this is when it actually failed. But like, why did prettier format this just fine? I would kind of expect that to error and not output. I'm not going to worry about it. So like this formatter, I think Svelte's formatter just like worked with prettier. Sure. Probably not what we meant to do, but I don't know. So I'm going to just stringify it and just see if this works like I expected it to. So I'm going to run git clean again, git clean dash source -d -f. Can I just do like -fd? Yeah, you can. Okay. So we removed. Oh, interesting. Yeah, it only does directories. That's good because I actually wanted to keep this change. So we're going to say grow post -- title foo's bar. And now you can see generation actually succeeded, and you can see it worked, right? And it used prettier sort of formatting here. Now one thing I wanted to do now is let's do this. Instead of, we'll do double quotes now. So I'll add double quotes in there, and that means I need to do single quotes around it in bash. So does double quotes work? Oh, and actually, that might have been a problem. Yeah, duplicate file ID. So that's a different problem. I just kind of got us in a bad state. That's a different problem for another different day. So like conflicts between stuff is like unnecessary. So I'm gonna clean up these manually so I don't lose the work I did in post. Okay, so now I'm gonna run the same thing, but now there's not gonna be a conflict. Basically, I did the same. I think it was just doing the same thing because it slugified that, removed both the single quote, double quote. I could have put like bar, foo's bar. Sure, I didn't mean to do that, but sure. Okay, so we now have this new title. This looks right. This one looks right as well. So it preserved in our title the double quote. Now, what happens though? Because I think it's like JSON stringify is actually doing automatic escaping for us, so we don't need to worry about that. But let's use both. Can we do that? Let's try that. So I'm going to do like just A, B, C, and then quote, double quote, remove this. BC. Okay, so actually can't even do it in bash. Can I do it if I escape it in bash? No. What about here? Can I do that? Maybe. Yeah. So does that in our third one. Okay, cool. That's what I was hoping to see. Basically, it's preserving both quotes and single quotes and double quotes and mixes of those. All I had to do was JSON stringify, right? So this basically does the escaping for us without breaking. Because what we're doing here is just templating the string of Svelte manually. So to manually do this, I had to escape anything that would break the syntax to make sure I'm wrapping title in. So what's actually happening, it's converting this to a double quoted string and escaping any existing double quotes inside of title. And then Prettier does its thing to try to give us single quotes, right? Like as you see here. So that's how that all works. This escapes it correctly. The slug does not need escaping because we already kind of slugified it to be compatible, nor do the others need escaping. Yeah, so that's something that like a template language can do, but this is like keeps it super simple. You're just creating strings to create files. It just like gives you the maximum amount of control. And like generally speaking, the code generation that I do with Grow is super simple. As you can see, this is simple. Like it just gives you like exactly what you might want. Like the blog, for example, also very simple, right? There's no escaping actually needed, except for I had to do, as you see here, I used JSON stringify to escape this feed. Actually, no, I'm actually embedding that object there. So actually that's not escaping. That's just embedding an object. So, all right. I think this is looking good for our feature. I think we can just kind of call, grow post dash dash title with like anything we want, and it should work. And as you see, like there's no extra white space at the end or in between. Our slug looks nice and tidy. We now have number 4. It's pointing, the title actually passes through perfectly. Let's go ahead and trim the title. I think that any sort of title trimming, let's call this raw title, and then title is going to be trimmed. Hey, Copilot knew exactly what I was going for. So we'll have the title and the slug derived from the title. The title is going to have trimmed text, and we now can call this feature done. So what we just added was a new ability for Post to create these posts with titles, and that puts that content in multiple places, right? So our feed actually has that as well. So this is a generated file. So actually, if I run growgen, I don't actually need to manually update that file. That's a generated file. So if we now see, if I refresh, you see like the changes to this file are gone. So I'm not duplicating that source of truth. That source of truth was in one place, which is in the hand-authored index incrementing number integer directories inside a blog. And then those are mirrored again in the title here. And that's where we use the slug. And that maps to the browser address bar. So I think we did the thing. I'm going to commit this code. I think I'm probably done enough, I believe, for a single sitting. I'm going to look really fast. We can now do grow post title. So this feature is now complete. Question is, do I want to continue on in the same, like I have no idea. If you have any feedback for me about how long these videos is useful to be, I'd love to hear your input. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if these should be like 30 minutes to an hour to an hour and a half. Is 2 hours bad? I don't know. I have no clue. If you have opinions, I would love to hear them. So I was thinking grow update post and then init blog post pages. Both really simple actually. So I think I'll go ahead and start with the init. We're just going to do them. I feel in pretty good energy wise. My eyes feel fine. So I will continue down this path. As we can see, the goal here is to create these new posts, right? And you can see that we actually have no blog post here. So what I'm saying is that like, if we look at the existing blog post, you can see I have a blog post component wrapping stuff. Again, this is optional. And there's this question of like, for learning purposes, knowing that this is optional is really helpful. So like I could leave a comment. We're saying like, blog post is optional. And maybe that's the best for now. So maybe I'm just actually going to basically copy paste that code that I'm already doing here. I can say like to do, or actually it's not understanding that I'm inside of a HTML. So we could say like this component is totally optional, and add is totally optional. Yeah. You have full control over the page. Okay, you'll just lose some features, right? That's how it goes. So I wonder if like this local link example is weird. Yeah, yeah, I don't know, because it's like a broken link. I do know that like slashes should always exist. So a local link example. Yeah, that's a example link. Example link. Okay. Because basically the point here is you need that base. This is a SvelteKit idiom. I'm just trying to like communicate. This is just what you expect it to be. Maybe that's even overkill for, because I'm probably just going to like delete. Yeah, I think that's just overkill. So we do need though to import this thing. And this is that same problem I had here where like this. Yeah, so we already had this kind of figured out. This import path is going to be for the fuzz blog. So if I'm on fuzz blog, I actually import from $lib. Otherwise, I import from ryanatkin/fuzz blog. This allows me to use this in this repo, and we'll see it generate the correct path. So if I see $lib in here, right, inside the actual generated code, that's a problem. So here, same problem. We actually use the exact same. We kind of duplicated some of this code. That's why I said multiple parameterize and refactor. I could actually put that above that, because a lot of this code is duplicated. Not going to worry about it today. It's not a big deal. And pulling out helpers is trivial. Not something that I'm super interested in right now. All right. So basically what I'm saying is like, hey, this is optional, but this is what you'll generally want to do, right? And it'll get you features like Mastodon comments that we'll follow up with in the next post, the next video. So I'm just kind of showing some of this stuff. Okay, here's a link. That's fine. I'm not going to do that actually. Content goes here. Your post goes content here. Sure. Thanks, Copilot, doing the easy stuff for me. All right. We have the blog post. We have probably, is there anything else I want to add into this? Let's go look at our actual blog post. I'm in the wrong project. That's fuzz. Oh, we were in fuzz. We upgraded it. We upgraded its dependencies. We imported it there. We ran a check, I believe, right? That's what I was like waiting for. Yeah, we ran a check. Okay. So we'll say commit, just update dev deps, and then deploy. So now fuzz uses our new belt helper to slugify stuff, which overkill for its needs. That's why like efficiency, like whatever, it's fine. You could probably pass in a flag of like fast slugify. No, if you know you don't have like special characters in there, it could just bypass that whole. So I'll make a quick note of that for myself in fuzz. You know, maybe fast option, or like, you know, no special characters, no special. Sorry, this is off screen. No special characters, chars option to slugify. So the point there is like, I don't want to have slugify do all this extra work every single time. We could also, when we come back to that, revisit the idea of, can we make the loop more efficient rather than, you know, creating all those intermediate arrays, if that's what it's actually doing. It's like not actually certain to me. I saw some stuff about how when you map, filter, etc., a lot of the time, Chrome at least, the V8 engine can map those to transducers under the hood, which efficiently doesn't create intermediate arrays, because it can kind of see that, hey, I'm not actually using those arrays. So it can kind of optimize under the hood. I don't know. I'm probably overthinking it for a helper like that. It's just one of those things like best practices, right? Like, how do I want to generally be writing code that's efficient? It can matter. Like, I've written many game experiences, for example, where like, for example, I had a color function that like, I just like used a color library to like map some colors. Turns out that made something go from completely unusable when I rewrote the function myself to instant. So unusably slow to completely instant for my use case of mapping a map of pixels for a world map in real time. So things can matter. Like those small optimizations can actually have tremendous impact depending on how you use them. So saying that performance is early optimization, yes and no. It's way more complicated than that. If you're just building regular old CRUD apps on the web, like, yeah, you probably don't run into those use cases, but tons of people build content on the web that does run into those use cases. So we are getting close. We have this new content, so we can actually just run, grow, post, create a new title, see this in action. So now when we load up, actually I'll just show the whole process, right? So we actually should now see on my blog that added. So we see, I just ran grow post and boom, we see a new post, my post content here. You can see the blog post header, the blog post actually mounts a header component, which does this part. So this is automated for us. You don't have to do that though. You can just have whatever you want on this page. And you also have, of course, because it's your project, control over the footer here. Now, the HR is one thing I'm looking at. So like this thing at the bottom here, that's in the blog post and maybe should be optional. It's a good question. Like between the header and footer, should that HR be there? Like, should you maybe add it inside if there's a footer, we render that. For now, I'm not going to do it, but I will make a note, be like, to do, maybe make this optional or conditional on other content. Maybe make this HR, just to be clear. Okay. All right, so you see that feature now. Like, essentially, this is just a better, your post content here. Post content goes here. Post content goes here. Okay. Content goes here. Content goes here. Sure. Maybe I'll add a to do. To do. To do. Content goes here. Okay. All right. So I can now delete these out. Don't need my example posts, but you see now I am now generating new posts with a better skeleton, right? We now have this blog post imported and it passes through that post. So we can kind of see how that post object gets used. And now we see, hey, like this gets used. So we're good. We just knocked another one off the to-do list. I can't wait to get to the Mastodon comments, which we'll do in a follow-up, like I keep saying. Last one. So this is a small one. It might be a nice quality of life improvement, but it's pretty small. I think it will take just a few minutes. The idea is that I want to say grow, update, post, and then give it a number, like 1. And what that will do, it will just bump the updated field of our post to a new value. This is going to be a little bit tricky in the sense that we're going to do string replacement using a regex. I've been thinking, how would I do this? Like, I suppose, yeah, I mean, there's lots of ways you can do this. Like the real best way to do it would be like to parse the Svelte file as an abstract syntax tree and then use that structure to go granularly find your post object and then update the updated property of that JSON object in the AST and then serialize it back to a Svelte string. That seems completely overkill for something that is a manual step you're going to be running. And so we'll see if it errors, and I will see if it errors and fix it because it's not that error prone. Like essentially what I'm saying is the feature that's going to happen is date modified will be bumped to right now. So let's go look at how we did this. We say 2 ISO strings. So we need to remember that. But basically, we're just going to say like, hey, this is a new date that maps to right now. And we'll just update. Say if I say grow update post 1, it's going to bump this date modified field. And so this is a RSS Atom feed thing that says, hey, this was the last time this post was actually changed. And so by bumping that value, feed readers will be like, hey, I have a new value here. to deal with. And we'll actually be able to see that. I'm going to open up SvelteKit. We can see I have 3 different blogs. I've got mine, I've got Fuzz's blog. This 5-day, we'll see an updated value. So like right here, if I click in this, no, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to see like the updated time. I don't see it. But basically, like I think it's not showing me both updated and created. But I think that's how it will work. Basically, like this 5-day in SvelteKit will change to, I believe, today. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bump the updated field of the post that I have written here. We won't even update the content probably. I think like it's whatever. I don't think I need to care about it. I could like say like, oh, like grow, like document some features, but like meh, I just don't need to worry about it later. So we will come back to the content of this probably off camera. I don't think you need to see me edit words. I don't think that's as interesting as the code. So what I'm going to do is start by just adding a new file. It's going to be called post or update post.task.ts. I can just show you, like, we'll import the type of task from, oops, what am I doing? From grow. And then we say export. And like, this is where like, obviously I would usually just kind of copy paste and boilerplate. I need like I need a way to boilerplate out a lot of the stuff. So you can create a new task like super simply. But basically like, I'm just going to create a task. This is what they look like. Updates, the summary of it is going to be updates. What is it? Date modified? Hey, good job. We don't need any of this stuff, right? We do want to have like this Zod stuff because we actually will do the date as date modified. It's going to be optional because we will say date equals, hey, good job, Copilot. So it's going to say like, hey, here's our new date, right? And then we'll say, probably don't need to log anything. We're not going to invoke any other tasks. Actually, will we? Will we generate? We will. I'm going to do that. So actually, just so I remember, we'll say await invoke task. It's going to be just gen. So that will regenerate our files that depend on the date modified. So our feed file, if we look at our blog.gen, that's going to update our feed.xml. It'll also update our feed.ts, which is our TypeScript representation of the feed. If we look at our feed.ts here, you can see date modified is in there. So we should see this update when we run our task. So that's why we're going to need to run generate at the end. I don't have that sort of like with a watcher quite yet because it needs to do like Vite plugin. I used to have that working, but then I switched over to Vite and I need to write a Vite plugin that can basically just like use its watcher to downstream generate files, but not there yet. Not a big deal. We would still probably want to do that generation here, even in that case, because you would have to have like your server or some other process running, and we probably want to see it update in real time. So anyway, small aside. We now have our date. The point here is that we want to kind of write that file and to the local directory. So let's go say like const. Oh, and then actually needs to take another. It will require the post ID. And what are we calling those, right? These are the, if we look at like what a post is, what are our posts called? Like a blog post, feed item. I think we're calling them IDs, right? Yeah, it's just ID is the number. And we probably want to take a string as well. Or it could be like post update, should be ID or post, should just be like the rest args. Yeah, maybe we go ahead and say it's the rest arg. So this is where like the same question of like post task, should the title be just like the first argument or should it have like a name title, right? Yeah, it's like an interesting API question that I don't have perfect answers for. Because like, do you want to run grow update post 1 or do you want to say grow update post -- 1? Same with like title, right? Do you want to say update, you know, grow post and then just the title, or do you want to say grow post dash dash title and then give it a title? The ergonomics, I'm actually like thinking like, oh, maybe it was a mistake to go with dash dash title because it's required and it's always kind of like going to be there as the first thing and maybe the only thing that's required. And so in that case, it kind of makes sense to me to have them, like, especially in the sense of dash dash the post one, like this is what I'm thinking. So it'd be like that. We say like that's an array of strings, and it's it would be, we could say defaults to empty array, and then we'll have our own error. So like the post ID to update, the ID of the post to update. So, and then we also want to say like to do accept title, or sorry, slug, as well as ID. Maybe question mark. I think so. I think it would just be like more convenient if you type in the slug sometimes, but for our version 1 of this, don't need to worry about that. So our args, then we have like this, and then we can say if not, actually, and then our first thing is going to be the ID. So if there's no ID, we actually will throw a task error, throw new task error, and that's going to be ID is required. Post ID is required as the first argument, or like the rest argument, whatever. Post ID is required. ID of the post, yeah. So is this perfect? Like maybe not. This description actually needs to go on the outside of this. So it's the description of the array. We are saying all of these are unused if, oh wait, I'm trying to destructure. Yeah, that's wrong. It's this, it's underscore colon. So we're destructuring the ID and we're saying, okay, if there's none of that, date is going to be there. So we will just do like ID and date and just log this out. So let's just say grow, update, post, and that's how you just run the new task. It's saying post ID is required, right? So we'll say grow, update, post 1, and hey, look, it found it and then generated. So it says, here's our ID, here's our date, which is right now, July 15th. It includes the time zone information, which like whatever, it's the ISO string. Actually, that is not my time zone. That is like, I guess, GMT. Is that what ISO strings are? I saw like the Z at the end, so I thought that was a time zone, but I don't know. T16, that plus 8, that sounds right. So that's GMT. Okay, so we now see we need to do the work, right? So we have kind of our structure, right? We have our 2 parameters. We have the rest array, which is the ID of the post. So you'll just say like, instead of like dash dash ID, it just takes the ID. I'm thinking I want to change before we publish this, the post task as well. And did we actually add a change log for this? No, we did not. I think we want to add the documentation for this somewhere. And then, yeah, we'll just add a quick usage section. Usage, we'll say like create a post. Actually, wait, no. Was I starting to write the documentation on the actual page? Yeah, we did. So let's go there. So we'll say here, we'll make a new, we're in the section of this to generate a new post. To enable your generated feed, include as a link. Okay. Yeah, let's do this. So it's an H3, generate a new post, or create a new post. And then we want to say like update an existing post. Okay, and that's just going to be simple, super simple. What is this? We just put it in a code block, and lang equals TS. And that's going to be like content equals, I think something like super, like very simple. It would just be like, we'll just put, actually it's not TS, it's bash, which I don't know if I have support for bash. We'll see. So we'll be like grow post, or no, yeah, grow update post 1. We'll deal with this later. So like the actual better docs than that. But this is just like kind of getting our ideas down. So this is grow post and then like title. So it's going to be like, we'll escape it ourselves and say like, oh, can you not escape in? Yeah, I guess not. Grow post title, your post title, some post title. Okay. We'll just put this in regular old template string because it might expand. Some post title. Okay. So we now have, I'll do this one as well, just for, because it will probably change in the future. And all right, so we now can say like, let's look at our home page where we have some of this information. Looks like we probably need to restart our server because unless I have something I need to fix. Looks like not. I think we can just refresh the page. No, looks like we do have an error. Bash has no grammar. Okay, no bash. No, fine. Maybe one day. Okay, create a new post. Oh, I can say like $, I guess. Like it's fine. The $ thing kind of just says, hey, this year in the shell. Grow post, some post title. And then, yeah, and then I'll do like this. I'll do like grow post. This is where I'm going to do a template string, right? And then I'll say like grow post dash help. Okay. This, if you know how to use grow, I don't need this, but like, no, a lot of people don't know how to use grow. So I'm just going to document that for now. That will show you the, grow post dash help. That'll show you like the print help. And I'm not going to duplicate this for now. I'm just going to have that be something that you have to do, because then we would get out of sync, and I don't want to worry about this right now. We'll improve the docs over time. So this is like, yeah, that's right. That's fine. The idea then is we just slightly improved our docs. I don't want this like formatted like that anymore probably. So instead of having this be a box around the docs, let's just remove that. Now our docs are kind of like more aligned. So docs, create a new post, update existing post. Our section should not end there. Our section should end down here. Okay. The spacing here was off. And I'm getting close. So we have some basic documentation for our new things. This will create posts. This will update posts. We haven't actually implemented updating posts quite yet, but we're very close to that. So I'm getting to where I want to add now change sets. So we'll say grow change sets. These will be minor versions, or no, sorry, patch versions. Yeah, right? Because these aren't breaking. These are just adding things. Add grow post title support. And then we want to say grow change set. This is also a minor, because yeah, it just added that parameter to it. I guess it did. Yeah, no, it's fine. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Add grow update post task. Okay. So we now have these two change sets added. So we'll get good version bumping. That's a minor. I mean, I think this is technically a minor because like it's now required. Yeah, it's minor. My bad. And then we need to do update post. So the idea here is that we need like the post URL, or sorry, the local file name. So the file name is going to be equal to like, yes. Oh, wow. Good job. Now this like /blog is like hard coded. That's something that like I need to add as like follow-ups. This will be a future follow-up, like hard coded /blog is like hard coded in several places. We will revisit that another time. So here's our file name. And then we should be able to say like, log out that like exists sync, like our file name exists, right? Like just as a sanity check, here's our import. we're going to say like grow. Actually, we'll exit right before here. So we'll say grow update post 1. And it says, yeah, it exists. So we have the right file. This is going to be local. This is obviously, yeah, I'll add it to do hard-coded blog. Okay. And like that is like every time we see that hard-coded, like obviously that's a problem. So I'm going to do multiple, to do multiple, just so we can more easily find them later. In our layout update post, we have that in our blog gen here. So to do, I need to copy that whole line, not just that one piece. Right here. And we'll say to do multiple hard-coded blog. It's just right here. We have it in our update post, and that's something for us to maybe generate. Yeah, that's a source of truth there. Would be nice to have a single source of truth for this, but it's something that like you can customize yourself. So I'm not sure. Yeah, actually, I'm just gonna leave a note. To do should be one source of truth. One source of truth. Yeah, actually, source of truth, and that actually might have to be fuzz config, so both our generated files can read that, and also maybe you can import that data. I don't know. That's something for the future. This is generated, so don't need to worry about it. And then, yeah, the feed XML, again, is generated from your code. So, all right. The basic idea then is that update post found the file, and what we're going to need to do is like, we're going to say like write file sync, and I'll just use the sync helpers because like it's fine. And then we'll write the file name with like the updated contents. Updated content. So, and that's going to be UTF-8. Okay. Whoops. All right. So updated content is going to be equal to content dot, and then we'll like, whoa, hey, did Copilot want to tell me? Yeah, this is probably not going to be right, but like, it might need some tweaking. So the basic idea is going to be that might be almost right. Just like the first date modified, right? We will do like a comma at the end for sure, because we force commas, and it should never be like, here's where like it gets a little bit sketchy of like, what if it's the last one and collapsed to a single line? Like, I don't think this will ever be collapsed to a single line, and then it might not have a comma because like the summary's after it and tags are after it. So like, I'm just going to go with it. If it ever breaks, and it's going to replace the first one. So if you have like a commented out one like this is going to break. And so like one question is like, do I search for the previous line having date published? It could still break. So maybe I should do the simple thing for now and not worry about it. I think that's probably just do the simple thing, which is like what Copilot actually inferred. Maybe not even include the comma. Yeah, we won't include the comma just in case. Like, there's no reason to be overly restrictive. It'll just replace the first date modified that it finds. And so the content is going to be content equals read file sync, right, over to the file name UTF-8. Okay, and are we done is the question, right? Is that really all we had to do? Maybe. So actually, I have multiple. I did. Okay, and then actually post.task. Did this not have blog anywhere? Hard coded. We do. Yes. So this is why it's good to use these to dos, because it's actually not searchable. This thing right here is the same to do. And actually, I'm going to add that as this thing. So now we actually search for that exact text, and we know what we're talking about when we're ready to do that work. So like the question is like, does the code I just wrote work? I'm just going to remove that. I'm just going to push up our changes because I think we're fine. Actually, you don't need to do that. Let's just say grow update post. Update post 1. And what happened? Yeah, look at that. It did it. So Copilot got the right. Like, obviously, this would fail if there's more than one of these date modified things like commented out above it. But like, if you're doing that, you'll see it in your source control that you failed. Again, this is a developer-centric blogging tool. So yeah, that just might be what you have to deal with. If if just know that that's a limitation. It's just a limitation. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's not great. I don't love it. If you have ideas for how I can more robustly replace that string, maybe we'll go all in with parsing Svelte and doing this the full correct way. Maybe that's just total overkill and we'll never have to worry about this again. Just one of those trade-offs you have to make sometimes of like, we just needed to update a single little field. That's all we wanted to do, and super easy to do. Copilot even knew exactly how to do that. And so that's what we have. We have that now updated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to commit this code. We're going to run our checks locally because they're faster. And while CI is running, I think we're basically done. I think we did fail the type check because I forgot to remove exist sync. I'm trying to think, like, I had something on my mind about, we're reading this file. Like, we could like say like, oh, it doesn't exist if this fails. So like, should this have better error handling? Probably. So like, what happens if we say like grow update post 10 or 12, right? It's like, hey, no such file 12. Like, that error message is kind of fine. It's just kind of fine. If you're running this, like, maybe I should. So like, actually, let's do this. We'll just do this a little bit more robustly because in the future it might change. We'll say if not exist sync file name, we'll say like throw new task error, post with ID not found. Okay. And then we'll give it the actual file name. Okay. So now if we run grow update 12, post with ID 12 not found at this, and actually we don't, yeah, that's fine. At this path, right? So that gives us, and actually, could I resolve that path? Let's resolve this path so we get like a nice, or join it with, no, it's fine. Resolve is fine. So like, we now have like a, oh, you still can't like click that link. Okay. It's fine. That's too much now, actually. Let's not resolve it. It's not needed. It's because it's local to the current working directory. So post with ID 12 not found at blah. Okay. Better error. Slightly more code because we have to just check if it exists first, which is really fast and fine. And we now have that URL. Should that be like in quotes? Probably. Because like, yeah, I usually don't put that in quotes, I think. Let me just see how that looks. At source routes. Yeah, whatever. At path. Post with ID, blah, not found at path blank. Okay. So we have better error checking now. It gives us like a slightly more user-friendly error. If we say grow update post 1, we get the update again, so it works. We're going to undo. Actually, it's fine. Just commit that change. So after, remember, it generates our files, so it actually updated our feed as well. So I'll just run it one more time to show that. So update post 1, you can see what all it changes. It actually is 3 files, right? So we have our normal post. This is what we modified. You could have always, like, I was previously manually just updating those fields, right? I would just like do date.toISOstring in my console, paste that value in here, and it would just work when I regenerated files. Now this updates this file automatically when you run that task, which is just a lot faster and nicer. And then it automatically runs the generation scripts. So we now have our XML file updated. It updates both the updated of the entire blog feed rather, as well as the item entry for that one particular item. And then you can also see our JSON representation has the date modified. We actually don't have a modified date for the entire feed. That's something I could probably add, but not needed right now. So I'm going to make a note of that though. So to do, to do date modified for entire feed, question mark. Yeah, right here. Okay. All right. So we have this all working. I don't need to change these. In fact, just like whatever, we'll stick with what we already had. I will commit this to do, and then we should be able to check our CI, and it's passing. We just pushed a to do up, but we know that's going to pass. So what we're going to do is merge it over. We're almost done. Yeah, various improvements. Like I'm not too concerned about if you want to know what those improvements are, you can read text here or go into the change set. We did indeed add that to do, so that one's finished. We can now run the deploy command. So going to go over to our main branch, delete the old one, run deploy. And so what this is going to do is update all of the website files, including the feed.xml. And then what I'm going to do to wrap it up is show hopefully we see that date modified value. So we're deployed now. I can close out my editor, go over to fuzzblog. We can go over to our deploy branch. We can see in a moment, our docs will be updated, and SvelteKit hopefully will show our updated blog data for Fuzz's blog, Fuzzblog's blog. Hello, Fuzzblog. So any minute now, when our deployment is done, which it now is, I'm going to refresh our blog page. We now see our new docs, create post, grow post. I didn't change the API for that, which I might do really fast to use. Did I change it? I don't think I did. Did I? I'm going to refresh SvelteKit. And it did not update what I was hoping to see. So I don't see the updated field for it, but I'm actually going to delete it because I would want to see the updated. If we go here, we do see now updated on our blog, but like our feed, I was hoping to see updated value on, and maybe SvelteKit doesn't show updated. Maybe it's not doing that. I don't know. It says 5 days, but like it's showing two things of 5 days. I don't know like maybe this is too simple of a app to be testing this in. Show post updates. Aha. Okay, we got it. That was just an option I had to enable. It wasn't showing me post updates by default, but 4 minutes ago, we have Fuzz's blog. Fuzz's blog's blog is updated 4 minutes ago. So we're good. We know our XML file. We already knew that, but yeah, now we see the proof in our feed reader. So we can now run grow post or update post with the post ID, and it should just work. So that's good. I think the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hop over back actually to fuzzblog, and we're just going to look at the API. We like the API of update post to accept you just give it it's like the main argument, right? It's required. For post task, we're actually going to do the same thing. So the same sort of structure where we say like this, this is going to be like this. So it's going to be the raw title is destructured from you, the description, and it will default actually. So it's going to be, we'll just copy this entire string actually, because it's super easy. And then it's post title. Post title is the first argument to it. And so if we come in here and we say, if there's no, like just like we did here, we'll say if there's no title, if there's no raw title, we say a new task error, right? And we say post title is required as the first, what is that? The first argument, the rest arguments? It's the first argument. We'll just call it the first argument. Or just post title is required. So when you run grow post -- help now, post title, right? Is it the clearest? Maybe not. I think is a much more convenient API. You don't have to remember -- title. You just say grow post and then some string, right? Grow post and then blah, 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 blah. And you could even use spaces there and join. I sometimes do that in some APIs. Like this array could actually be joined with like, but I don't want to be error prone here. That might be a weird, inadvisable way to do that. Like a change set, grow change set works that way. It's probably not good to write APIs like that. So this is nice and explicit. The very first argument is used as the title. It will throw you a nice error. So if we say grow post and don't give it anything, it'll say, hey, post title is required. You can say grow post -- help, and it will just give you that post title. It's clear enough. It's more convenient to use this way. So, if there's a single required argument to a particular task, it seems plausible or seems prudent to make that just like the first argument. Maybe I'll change my mind in the future. I'm not like, there's definite trade-offs here in terms of ergonomics and API and clarity. But I'm pretty happy with this. So I'm going to change this slightly. I actually don't need to update a change set, but we might add this, like it's not in the same pull request, right? So is that a problem? Probably not. Grow update post task, and then update blog post footer, and then add grow post title support. Sure. We now actually, I think we documented it incorrectly originally, and now that documentation is correct. Let's go look. I documented it incorrectly. So I was already thinking I would make that change and then didn't update the docs. So we got the docs correct. So I'm going to say fix grow post API. Because it's fixed, because the docs were already correct. Title, API for title. All right. Now I can say grow release. So what that's going to do is update npm. And in the next video, I can go ahead and use the updated fuzz blog in both my personal blog as well as my web dev ladder blog, which if you're interested in that, I have VODs in I think it's a standalone playlist for web dev ladder. Maybe I should like have the fuzz blog stuff kind of duplicated. So the same video might show up in two playlists. I'm not sure yet. I'm still working out how to use YouTube and make these useful and easy to find. So anyway, that's a bunch of features that we just added to fuzz blog. If you have any comments or questions, YouTube comments are great, as is Discord. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.